Hello and welcome to Clay Creators. Today we are working on our Christmas tree. Hopefully we can get something looking like this. We're going to do key stage 2, so we are going to need our scales, our creator cards and tools, pots of clay, and if at all possible an airtight container, anything with a seal or a lid just to help keep the clay fresh during the build. So we're going to get started. We're going to mix our green to start off with. From that green we'll be able to make some brown, and the thing with the Christmas tree, we need to kind of let the trunk start to set, which I'll get to later on. It's just to help keep the tree standing upright later on. Okay, so I'm going to move that off. And like I say, we're going to get started by mixing the green. So if we can turn our scales on, make sure they're at 0 and on the correct measurement, which is grams, the right unit should I say, perfect. And like I say, we're going to start with yellow. So the biggest measurement, 8.5 grams of yellow. So 8.50. That is kind of freaky, dead on 850. And then blue, we are going to be measuring out 1.70, so 1.70. Switch them all. Okay. Brush your clay away, keep it nice and fresh. Give those a mix and we'll get that nice green that we're looking for. So like I said, this will be enough for the tree itself, and we're going to take a little from this as well and make the trunk, the brown section at the bottom. So give this a good mix, make sure all the colours mixed and fully blended, no yellow or blue lines showing. And once that's done, you should, like I say, you should have a nice green. Okay, so we're going to take some off now to add some red and make the trunk colour. Okay, so the measurements for that is we need 1.20, so 1.20 of green. Okay, rest of your green can go into the airtight container for the time being. And we'll just get the red clay. 0.30 is the next measurement of red. So again, make sure your scales are at 0, 0, 3, 0. Okay. And then give these two a mix, and this should be a nice brown, like I say, for the trunk. Get those two colours fully mixed through. If it's a little red or you want a darker trunk, so I'm looking at that, it's a pretty good brown for me, but if it is, add a very, very small amount of black just to darken that up a touch. Not too much, very slowly, just add a tiny, tiny touch if you want, but that's a very good brown for me. Okay, so all we're going to do for this, what I was saying before about getting it's kind of partly set, because we want our tree to be able to stand upright. If you don't get this kind of drying now, you may have to keep going back to it over the night during while it's drying. So what we're going to do, what I like to do, I'll shape this, leave this out to dry now or start to dry, and then we'll add the rest of the tree to it later on. Okay, so all we're going to do, roll into a ball, get it into a starting position, nice smooth ball, get rid of any lines and lumps. I use my hands, you may want to use the workstation in front of you, but roll that out into a nice smooth ball. Okay, all we're going to do then, we're not going to keep this perfectly straight, we're going to kind of have it coming in at a point a little bit at the top. Okay, so all I'm going to do is give it a very gentle roll slightly. Okay, so just turn it into a little bit more of a sausage shape. Once you've done that, at one end, so pick end, it doesn't matter, just start to press down a little bit more at one end rather than all the way along. Okay, you'll start to kind of get more of a pear shape. Okay, so the pear shape's what we need. We want a thicker bottom. So if you then pick it up, imagine the thinner end will be at the top underneath the tree. Okay, so just a little bit of shaping now. I want the bottom round a bit to be kind of flatter. So all I'm going to do is gently push down, but I'm not pushing down on the top because I don't want to change the shape. So the bit at the side, I'm just gently pushing against the workstation, just very slightly, just keep it very gentle. whilst also keeping the top pointy, okay? So I'm kind of turning, pressing down and keeping that shape. So eventually I should have a flat bottom where the trunk will sit, and it'll kind of going up into a point. Now again, you may want to just kind of give the top a little press if you want, it's no problem. And we're looking for something around about that height. And if you turn it on its side, it is anywhere between 2.5 3 centimeters high. Okay, now remember, when the tree does sit on the top, it will squash it down a little bit. So if you want that to be your finishing height, you may want to kind of bring it up a little bit, make it a little bit taller. But again, the taller it goes, the weaker it will be, as in it will start to kind of squash down a little bit. Okay, so try and make sure that's even in the middle, so when you look on the top, you've got the same amount of clay looking around the outside. So when you're looking at the top, that point is right at the very top. Okay, so like I say, while we work on the rest of the tree, I'm going to leave that out to dry and start to kind of set in the position we want it. And then we're going to move back to the tree. So the tree is done in 3 stages. We do a bottom, middle and a top, and then we decorate on top of that. So the little baubles and things like that and those star we'll do afterwards. So we're going to start off with the green and we'll work our way up. So it's going to be the bottom section first, then onto the middle. Okay, so scales on again. The bottom section is going to be measured out at 4.50 grams. So 4.50. And the rest clay away. Now there's a little bit of shaping with the tree. Okay, so each section you kind of have to shape a little bit and then you'll add again. But as always, we're going to roll out and get into that starting position. Nice smooth round ball to start off with. And I've rolled that out into a nice smooth ball. Okay, so like I said, these ones are a little bit of shaping, a little bit of molding. You might not get it right straight away. You may have to do it a couple of times to kind of get the effect that you're looking for. Okay, so all I'm going to do to start off with, I'm going to press down very slightly just to take away that ball effect. Okay, so we've kind of gone. Okay, so all I'm going to do then on the side, I'm going to gently roll again towards one end. Okay, so I'm just rolling. We're kind of going for the same sort of shape as we did with the with the trunk, okay, but on a bigger scale. Okay, so I've kind of got this shape now, bigger bottom. Okay, now if you imagine, if I bring the tree up here, we need to get the effect of the branch, the little leaf sticking out. Okay, so the way to do that, we kind of pinch and press slightly. So I'm pressing down like we did with the trunk and pressing down to give the bottom part a real flat section. Okay, at the same time I'm kind of taking my hand round and pressing, so I'm still getting the same sort of shape as we did there. So we can start to get the idea of those leaves now though. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tool and I'm just going to make little cuts along the edge. Okay, so I'm going to do that around the bottom. There's no number that you need to do. Okay, it's just randomly around. So I've now got little lines all the way around. Okay, so this is the bit that we're going to talk about the shaping. So you may need to roll this into a ball and go try it again. Okay, try and be gentle with your other hand so you don't squash the complete shape that we've got. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to be taking this hand and I'm going to kind of pinch those sections. So each section is going to kind of be pinched and pulled out slightly and then pointed. So if I pinch and pull slightly, I kind of get a squished effect on one end. Okay, then all I'm going to do is point that by just pressing the two ends. If you imagine, I then take my tool and just go back to the two lines on that one and give it a little bit of a pull and a shape. So we then end up with one section pulled. Now we have to do that all the way around. So each one, a gentle pull and a stretch, and then a pinch, and then tidy up with your tool. And as you go around, you'll notice that the bottom underneath is kind of, it's going to be dinted. So we'll be able to put our trunk underneath. Okay, so keep your way working around, tidy up with the tool. And let's say, I don't expect this to be perfect straight away. You may have to have a couple of goes. Back onto the table, tidy up a little. And eventually you will end up with your leaf's little overhang. Okay, so again, if I place that on the table, you'll see that it's raised up very slightly. You can get underneath. So eventually what will happen, I'm just going to press this down a little bit, just to give it a little bit more bulk. So I've just pressed that down, and now you've got a real flat top. Okay, but if you imagine now, that would sit on top and kind of blend over the top. Okay, so we're going to leave that this way around just for the time being. I don't want to put it this way because it will kind of, and I still want the droopy effect over the top. So we're going to just turn it upside down and let it start to dry this way. And again, I'm going to leave that out because I don't want it to dry too, I don't want it to stay too soft. I want it to start to dry, so when we place the next one on and the next one on, it will be all solid. Okay, so the next section will be the middle, and this is measured out at 2.20. So again, clay out, and we're kind of going to do the same sort of thing as we have done then. 2.20. So we want the same effect. This time it will kind of droop over the top of this one. Okay, so again, back to our nice smooth round bowl. And it will be the same sort of effect as, let's say, so if I turn this over, you kind of want it to be wider at the bottom than this bit. So again, it will sit on the top and kind of just loop over the top. Okay, so same again. I'm going to roll slightly at one end to kind of give me that pear shape that we're looking for. Press down. Now, to be honest, when you are, everyone's is going to be slightly different. Let me just put it that way. Sorry. So if at the moment I'm looking at that, it's going to sit directly on. So I want to make this bottom bit a little bit bigger. So the way to do that, make sure it's wider than that, is to kind of press down a little. So if you press down, make sure it's wider. I'm just cheating. I'm going to go back to where we were in a minute. So if we start from a ball, before you roll it into the sausage, the kind of the cone shape, if you want to press down a little to give you that wider start point and then go onto the edge, do it that way, and then kind of use your hands to shape it. Okay, so again, as you press down now, I'm pressing down and pushing. This bottom part that I'm at now should be wider than the section that you're putting on top. Okay, hope that makes sense. So same process as before. We're going to make some marks with our tool and then pinch and pull and stretch out. So little lines all the way around. So again, I've got those lines going all the way around. I'm going to pinch and pull and stretch out a little bit. So again, just tidy it up. If you need to mold a little bit with your fingers and shape it, Fine, so again, I've now, oops, that one's not very pointy. Now got the shape. Again, now if I was to turn this over, they would sit over the top and I could see that they're bigger, okay? So again, I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm just going to shape slightly, give it a little push underneath with my finger so I know that those parts of the leaf will be coming over. Again, if I turn that upside down and leave to dry, upside down again, like so. Final section, measured out at 1.80, and we will be doing the same again, other than trying to point it a little bit more at the top. So 1.80 to start off with. Should be most of your green clay here. Leaving you a small amount left. Okay, so give it a stretch and a roll. Like I say, same sort of effect at the bottom, but this time we need to be a little bit more careful with the very top part, because we want the top part to stay nice and smooth and have a point, okay? So we're going to kind of, you have to be very careful with the other hand now, so the holding hand has to be nice and gentle, nice and light, okay? So this time we do need to kind of roll this out into more of a cone, so we're going straight away into a pear shape, like so. Okay, so like I said, now we need to be careful, we need to try and make this bit a point. So all I'm going to do is gently press down on the wider part near the workstation and keep this cone pointier at the top and then a flatter bottom at the bottom. So again, I'm going to take our tools and we're going to draw those lines in, pinch and pull and stretch slightly whilst being very careful with this hand holding on. So I've got my cone, I've got my marks, pinch and pull. Okay, so remember to be careful. You may want to hold the coney bit at the top. You can see now. I'm just going to go back in there with my little tool and tidy up those lines. So again, if I was to place that, you can see that it's slightly raised. So we're going to get these all together now. So we'll put all of them together now. Again, your tree, there's a good chance that it may start to droop or lean, okay? So as it's drying, you may want to lean it against something, you may want to kind of pin it against something to hold it all together if you want to make sure it stands upright, okay? So starting with the bigger section that we did first, the big section, and then the middle, make sure they loop over each other. Just give them a gentle press down. And then finally the top section on the top of that. And again, just bring the little leaves or branches over. So they should all kind of loop over and give you that effect all the way around. Okay, so again, you don't want to leave it like this too long because it's going to affect your little leaves at the bottom. So we will add our trunk. Now everybody's will get kind of droop and kind of like I say, kind of start to lean. Mine will be exactly the same. So if I was just to put this on and leave it, it will fall over, okay? So once we're finished decorating it, I will lean it up against something to try and hold it upright until it's fully dry. So again, try and get this nicely in the middle. So closer in the middle, the better. Again, excuse me, sorry, if this has really started to dry out, you may want to just wet your finger and kind of soften the end. Same with the bottom here, and it'll help stick them together. Again, just gently press them together. So as you can see, mine will already start to droop forwards. So again, just alter it, kind of get it into its right position for the time being. And then whilst we start to think about decorations, I'll lean this up in the airtight container. I can see I've not got that quite in the middle, that'll be my problem. So I'm going to just adjust that slightly, try and get it into the very middle. I'll help get it into the right place, that's better. Okay, so again looking, I can see that it will start to droop, but like I say, I'm going to put it into the airtight container, lean it against the side whilst we just pull off, start to do the decorations. So I'm just going to take that very carefully, have it leaning against the side. So the decorations, we've got a tiny little star to do, and as many little baubles as you want. Okay, so again, I've gone red and yellow, dotted them around. You can do that. You can do any color you want. The star itself, I don't want it to be completely yellow. I want it to kind of golden up slightly. So what we do, we go with a tiny pinch of white and then an even smaller pinch of yellow. We're just trying to change the color very, very slightly. So using your creator card, look for the 1 centimeter ball, and what we want to do is take a pinch of white clay, roll it into a ball, make sure it fits inside that 1 centimeter ball. You still want to be able to see the outline of that measurement. Okay, once you've got that, take the smallest, tiniest little pinch of yellow and just add it to that white. Give it a little mix through. You're just looking to change that white very slightly. You want it to kind of just be a very, very slight change. If you're wanting it a little bit more, add a tiny touch more yellow. Just don't add too much yellow too quickly, okay? Just a tiny, tiny pinch. We're changing that white very, very slightly, okay? So I'm happy with that. Now with the star, it can be very tricky because obviously it's very small. Okay, now I'm not saying you have to put a star on the top. You could put anything you want up there as your decoration, okay? If you are doing a star, I will go from a ball and press down flat. Okay, so I'm going to just flatten it into a little disc about so big, okay? And from there you can use your tools, you can use your fingers to try and give yourself the 5 points of the star, okay? A little bit tricky, because again it's so small, but you just try and point with your fingers the 5 points of the star. I say you may want to use your tools, you may want to try and use your hands. You may have to go back, flatten it out again on the workstation a little bit. And then place that on top of the tree when you are happy. Like I say, it's a little bit fiddly because it's so small. I'm happy I've got my little star. Okay, so I'm going to just put that on top of my tree now. Get nice and careful with your tree. So my tree's starting to droop. One thing you could do is leave your tree and your trunk completely separate for a while, and then place them on if you're really struggling. Okay, so that's where we're at so far. And like I say, now it's just decorations with some, oops, oh dear, pulled the star off, pulled the star off. It's just the decorations with the baubles. So the baubles can be any color you want. I'm going to stick with the yellow and red decoration. So I'm literally going to put tiny red dots around one layer, and then I'll do some yellow and then back onto red again. You may want to use a different color, you may want to mix some colors, it's your choice, it's your Christmas tree, you decorate it how you want, okay? So like I say, with red and the yellow, all I'm going to do is take a tiny pinch of each and then snap it off. Try and get these the same sort of size, okay? So I've taken a tiny, tiny pinch on them all, and I'm just going to roll out 5 or 6 little tiny balls. roughly the same sort of size. So I now have there's 5 there. And the fact that I'm going to do 2 layers of red, I'll do some more. So I'm going to do another 5. And I say, as long as these are roughly the same sort of size, you'll get the right effect. Perfect. Okay. My tree's already fallen over. Okay, so, now I'm destroying my tree. Quick fix. So with the red, I am going to go on each branch at the bottom. So this may be one of those situations where you need to kind of just dab each branch with your finger to get the baubles to stick on. Okay, so if you can see, well, I'm going to just do that all the way around on each one. And then I will do yellow on the next section and red again on the top. Actually one shy. So with the yellow, I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to just place them around there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on that one. So if I get my yellow, I'll do exactly the same. Tiny little yellow balls. And place them on the branches. So like I say, your choice on colours and how you want to decorate your tree. But the important thing with the baubles, you try and get them pretty much the same sort of size, so they have a good effect all the way around. Okay, so again, so this time instead of putting them underneath, I'm just going to put them kind of on the outside of the branch. So one final one. So as you can see now, I have yellow and red all the way around. I've knocked one off on the bottom there. So hopefully you've got a nice little decorated tree there. Now, like I say, this is the important part where you need to make sure your tree is stood up, ready to dry properly. And you may have to keep going back, leaning up, moving around. Just keep a close eye on how it is drying. Okay, so continue to decorate. You've got free play clay now where you can add extra bits. You may want to put some extra little bits on top of your tree. Alongside, you may want to do some presents to the side. It is your choice. Free play, we normally use 1 gram of every colour. You may want to kind of chop and change through that, so 5 grams in total for your free play. If you are running long clay, please head over to claycreators.com/shop to place an order for new clay. And other than that, thank you ever so much for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.